But we're continuing our series this morning, you can see from the artwork there, on growing in. And we've looked at love and joy and peace and patience and kindness. And this morning, we're looking at faithfulness. And as I was seeking the Lord as to what passage to preach from this morning, this is the passage that he led me to. And it led me on to thinking about success, how we see success, what we think success is. Are we successful? Or was what we did successful? Or how can I be successful? I guess it's a question that we may ask at the end of this series, as in the preacher's meeting. Was this series successful? Perhaps you may ask it after you've been to all these messages and you've heard how to grow in the fruits of the Spirit. You might ask, have I been successful at applying them? So how do we measure success? I guess that we would probably all have different markers for this. But if you look around in society, success is about money, isn't it? It's about money, it's about fame, it's popularity, it's having a nice car, big house. That's what people see as successful. Maybe your kids have done something good with their lives, or they're decent people. That's success. Maybe you've got lots of friends. Maybe you're happy. A lot of people measure their success in how happy they are. I've been suffering quite badly this week with a bad back. And lots of pain in my legs and stuff, and I'm sure I've been a big pain to my wife as well. But my measure of success this week has been being able to reach the top of the stairs. So it does vary, doesn't it? And for those football fans out there, the measure of success is 6 clean sheets in a row. Not all of you will get that, sorry. Reading some quotes about success, which I looked at this week. A popular singer who went from rags to riches said this once: "I still don't understand it. If you don't have any time for yourself, any time to hunt or to fish, that's success." It's true, isn't it? Another one: "The only place success comes before sweat is in the dictionary." Success is being able to hire someone to mow the lawn while you play golf for exercise. And I like this one: "Success, spending your life doing things you detest to make money you don't want, to buy things you don't need, to impress people you don't like." It's very true, isn't it? I want to do something a bit different this morning, and we're actually going to dive straight into this passage. We're going to go in at the middle, and we're going to work back to the beginning, if that's all right. We obviously know that this is a letter from Paul to the church of Corinth, and we know that the church in Corinth is not the most mature bunch of Christians. Paul says that they have the disease of me. They're very self-centered. Their own definition of success is perhaps different to ours. In verse 8, we see this. "Already you have all you want. Already you have become rich. You have become kings." We see there that the church of Corinth really, that is how they're defining success. You've become rich, you've become kings. And it says, and that without us. So they've achieved their own success now, and without Paul's help. In my notes that I was making before I delivered this message, this part of the sermon was entitled "Self-Inflated Importance." I came across a story the other day about a young man who had just graduated university. He'd just become a fully qualified accountant. The man's father had been an immigrant into the country many years ago, but now he owned his own little business. And now filled with self-importance, this young man, freshly qualified accountant, started questioning his dad's bookkeeping skills. He said, "Dad, you don't even know how much profit you've made. You've got paperwork over here, paperwork over there. You just keep all your money in the till. You have no idea how much you've made." His father replied, "Son, I came to this country and the only thing I owned was a pair of pants. Now your brother is a doctor, your sister is an art teacher, you're an accountant, your mother and I own our own home, our own business, our own car. Add all that up, subtract the pants, and the rest is profit." Think about it. When we came into this earth, we literally had nothing. We didn't even have any pants. Regardless of how important or successful society sees us, the fact is we all started in the same place. We all started with nothing. Let's look back for a moment. Flick back to the book of John and chapter 12 and the story of Jesus being anointed at Bethany. John chapter 12. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus arrived at Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. So there was clearly a bit of a party going on here at this house in Bethany. Simon was there, a leper that Jesus had healed previously. Lazarus was there, the man that Jesus brought back from the dead. Martha and Mary were there, the disciples was there, Jesus was there. Martha was obviously doing all the work again, while Mary slipped off. And she returned with a large jar, a jar filled with expensive perfume. And she scoops out the perfume and she splashes it all over Jesus' feet. She washes Jesus' feet with this perfume. We read later on in this passage that this was a year's worth of wages, this perfume. The value was a year's worth of wages. And of course, Judas quickly objected. He was probably horrified at the tremendous waste of money, well, in his eyes anyway. And he uses the excuse of selling it and giving the money to the poor. Jesus, however, puts an end to this debate straight away. He accepts her gift and he accepts her heart behind giving her this gift. Mary, in this passage, really, she demonstrated an understanding that many of us fail to see all too often. She knew that everything that she had come from God. The person she was made by God. She was there because God had put her there. So we've got to ask ourselves a question this morning. What have we got that God didn't give us? What have we got? What have we got that God didn't give us? We didn't create ourselves. Did you give yourself the ability to think or plan or feel? Did you give yourself your talents and your skills? Everything we are, everything we own, everything we purchase, it all comes as a result of what God has given us. Why? Because he loves us. We couldn't have Valentine's Day, we couldn't celebrate Valentine's today if God hadn't first demonstrated his love for us. So why aren't we satisfied with that? Why are we always looking for more? Why do we always want more money and more friends and more stuff and more success? But hang on, we started with nothing. I saw a picture on Facebook yesterday. I think you shared it, Linda. It was a list of all the things that we're entitled to in this life. And the list looked like that. All the things that we're entitled to in this life. So the people of Corinth in this passage this morning in 1 Corinthians were behaving in the way where they wanted more. They wanted more success. Paul had taken the good news of the gospel to them, and they've gone, yeah, that's awesome. Now I can have everything that I want. I can be who I want to be. I can be successful and rich and famous. Well, no. Verses 6 and 7. Now, brothers, I have applied these things to myself and Apollos for your benefit, so that you may learn from us the meaning of the saying, do not go beyond what is written. Then you will not take pride in one man over against another. For what makes you different from anyone else? What do you have that you did not receive? And if you did receive it, why do you boast as though you did not? Do not go beyond what is written. That's what this passage says. Do not go off seeking fame and fortune for yourself. Do not go off seeking success. Do not go off trying to do life by yourself. Read an excellent quote from Max Lucado the other day that says this: I wake up in a world of miracles every morning. Every time I breathe and use the oxygen and incorporate into my body, it's a miracle. Every time I open my eyes and see the beauty that surrounds me, that's a miracle. Every time I touch the hand of a baby, that's a miracle. Every time I take a morsel of food and put it into my mouth and chew it, and my body digests it and uses the energy from it, that's a miracle. Just as surely as it was when God opened the waters of the Red Sea, just as surely as it was a miracle when Jesus fed the multitudes, just as surely as it was a miracle when Jesus healed the blind man, we wake up in a world of miracles every day, and some of us have the audacity to want more. In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, I'm sure you know the verse well. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. We know that if we love God and if we let him work out his will in our lives, in all things, he will work for our good. It is written that God loves us, that God gave us life, that God gives us everything we need, that God has a plan for us, and that God will work for the good of those who love him. The body you walk with, the mind you think with, the eyes you see with, all given to you by God. The hands you work with, the mouth you speak with, the talents you use to earn a living, the talents you use to enjoy your hobbies, all given to you by God. The heart that you love with, the people that you love, all given to you by God. There was a poor man that was given a loaf of bread. He had nothing. He was given a loaf of bread, and he went to the baker and he said, "Thank you." And the baker said, "Don't thank me. Thank the miller who made the flour." So he went and he thanked the miller. And the miller said, "No, don't thank me. Thank the farmer who planted the wheat." So he goes to the farmer and says, "Thank you." But the farmer says, "Don't thank me." He said, "Thank the Lord. He gave the sunshine and he gave the rain and he fertilized the soil so that you could have that bread to eat." You may be wondering what all this has got to do with growing in faithfulness. But the message that the Lord has for us this morning is a reminder to us all in our hectic, tiring lives that everything comes back to God. And because of that, we must be faithful to him. So should it cost us anything, this amazing, wonderful life that God's given us, these miracles that he gives us every day, this life that he's blessed us with, should it cost us anything? Are we living lives that reflect our gratefulness for all that God has done for us? What are we giving back? And are we doing it with the right heart? Are we doing it in the same sacrificial way that Mary did? That Mary demonstrates in this passage in John? A year's wages worth of perfume. Think of the security, the financial security. A year's worth of wages gone on this perfume. Mary in this passage is pointing to Jesus' eventual death on the cross. She knew what it was going to cost Jesus, and she knew it had to cost her something in return, something significant. In 2 Samuel chapter 24, when we're looking at King David, he secures the land that he needs to build the temple on. And the land and all its natural resources were offered to David for nothing. Here you go, have this land. Excellent, David thought. What a result. No, he didn't. He said, "I insist on buying this land. I cannot offer to God that which costs me nothing." What we offer to God is an expression of what we value the most, perhaps where our priorities lie. Who gave you time? Who gave you time? Take a look at your calendars. Take a look in your diary. What are you doing with that time that God has given you? How much of it are you giving back to him? Where did you get your money from? Look at your bank statements. What are you spending your money on? How much of it are you giving back to the one that gave it all to you. So how does God measure success? We read in this passage from verse 3, I care very little if I am judged by you or by any human court. Indeed, I do not even judge myself. My conscience is clear, but that does not make me innocent. It is the Lord who judges me. Therefore judge nothing before the appointed time. Wait till the Lord comes. He will bring to light what is hidden in darkness and will expose the motives of men's hearts. At that time each will receive his praise from God. Does God measure success in how everyone else sees us, in what our neighbours think of us? No. Does God measure success in how much money we've got, how many friends we've got, how popular we are? No. Do not go beyond what is written, this passage says. So what is written? Beginning of this passage. So then, men ought to regard us as servants of Christ and as those entrusted with the secret things of God. Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. It is required that those given a trust must prove faithful. God measures success in how faithful we are to what he has called us to do. This growth in faithfulness comes from God himself as a direct result of being faithful to him. He will bring to light what is hidden in darkness and expose the motives of men's hearts, this passage says. God is looking for the kind of faithfulness that he can grow in us, the kind of faithfulness that he can trust, the genuine, authentic, perhaps even simple faithfulness to God. He's entrusted us with the most important thing that we'll ever have to do. We've been tasked with the Great Commission. You've been taught the good news of the gospel. How faithful are you doing? How faithful are you being in sharing this life-saving message from God with whoever you come into contact with? We are required to be faithful. That's what it says. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing, whether we've got 10 talents or whether we've got 1 talent, whether big or small, whatever job we're doing, whatever friends we have, whatever family we're a part of, the most important thing for us is to be faithful to God, faithful to his work that he's entrusted us with, seeking him constantly in everything that we do. We started off this morning by thinking about how we define success. I was going to quote Billy Graham at this point, but it's also on the front of your news sheets I saw this morning. We are called upon not to be successful, but to be faithful. I imagine Billy Graham stole that quote from Mother Teresa, so we'll quote her instead. Stole it for the kingdom. Think back to everything we've thought about this morning. God has given us everything. Everything. And what's he asking for in return? He's asking that we're faithful wherever, in whatever. How can we offer the one who gave us life, the one who brought hope in a hopeless situation, anything less than everything we are and everything that we have? The dictionary definition of faithfulness: adhering firmly and devotedly as to a person, cause, or idea. My prayer would be this Valentine's Day that all the couples here are reminded of the promise that you've made to be faithful to each other. And my prayer is that we're all reminded this morning of the requirement to be faithful to our Lord God, and reminded of the reasons why we should be. A young man applied for a job as a farmhand, and when the farmer asked for his qualifications, he said, "I can sleep when the wind blows." This puzzled the farmer, but he quite liked the young man, so he hired him anyway. And a few days later, the farmer and his wife were awakened in the night by a violent storm. They quickly began to check things to make sure everything was secure. They found that the shutters of the farmhouse had been securely fastened. There was a good supply of logs by the fire. The young man was sleeping soundly. Then the farmer and his wife went out to inspect the rest of the property. They found that the farm tools had been placed in the storage shed, safe from the elements. The barn was properly locked. Even the animals were calm. All was well. And it was in this moment that the farmer understood the meaning of the young man's words. I can sleep when the wind blows. Because the farmhand did his work so loyally and faithfully when the skies were clear, he was prepared for the storm when it broke. So when the wind blew, he wasn't afraid. He could sleep in peace. There was nothing dramatic or sensational about this young man's preparations. He just faithfully did what he needed to do every day. And consequently, peace was his, even in a storm. And Paul says, now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. To finish, I found 6 pointers, 6 ways from Rick Warren how we can evaluate our faithfulness to God. Number 1, do we possess the right values? Number 2, do we care for the interests of others? Number 3, do we live with integrity before an unbelieving world? Number 4, do you keep your promises? Number 5, do you develop your God-given gifts? Number 6, do you obey God's commands? And number 7, do you pass on what you learn? How do we grow in faithfulness? By being faithful.